point that is in this place where we live today. So let's turn to page 19. This land is your land, okay? I'll give you a moment to get there because some of the words may not be that familiar. Page 19.
That's a folk song.
Nice quick tempo.
You want to move it right
It's a
along.
happy song.
Okay. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that great highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden water. This land was made for you and me. And once again, this land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Hey, hey.
Very good, very good. That was lively. Thanks, Val. And now, if you will, please join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now, if you will, please pray or meditate and join as I say, bless this food to our use and us to thy service. Amen. Amen. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to eat. Would the ladies please come up first and join? Thank you.
You found it?
Yes, that's right.
I would like to.
That's what mine is, so it doesn't have that name.
Okay,
Ken. A lot of people don't like those because they should have hold it.
Well, there were some things like this.
Ken, I've got 4. Great. I've got Bill Murphy.
I'm assuming I've got a big stack.
Betty DeVries.
And
Reggie. No Diane.
Hey Reggie, hey Bill, this is Betty B. How are y'all doing today?
Glad to see you.
Is this Bill?
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
Oh,
Okay, we start recording.
all right, ladies and gentlemen, hope you had a very good meal. We're going to start today by introducing guests, sort of guests.
And Lost Souls.
One, we are very, Wayne Bell is here today, regular member. He's going to be telling us a little bit later about what's happening at Children's Harbor. Is that John? Is that it? Yep. Also, Tina is back. And we have a world traveler here, John Burtis, has graced us with his presence. I would like to let's go into happy dollars. So I know one person.
I
who's
can't
really
wait.
happy.
I can't wait. And I just don't know how much to contribute to this.
Start at
happiness.
100. And then work your way
Well,
down.
John's here, so we don't have to do that. I think I'll do.
Is this happy dollars?
Yeah, Jack. I'm doing a combined with Jackie. That's way. That way I can do $20.
Ah.
So one reason I'm really happy is we had a very successful Boys and Girls Club Swine and Wine dinner last Saturday.
Good.
And we had guests from the club. Graham was there. Meddy was there, but Graham won the 50-50.
Wow.
And he gave the $300 he won back to the Boys and Girls Club. All right. Graham is quite a guy. I'm also happy because Wayne Bell is here. Wayne and I are very good friends. I see him like once a year.
Very close, very close.
But we talk and we support each other in our various projects, and I just love the guy. So I'm really, really, really happy about that. Wayne knows how I feel about him. And then I'm really happy because this Saturday, or actually Friday, Saturday and Sunday, Jackie and I are going to the district conference. And we're excited about that, aren't we, Jackie?
Oh, yes. Well, thank you for representing the club.
I will. I'm going to be an usher this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is this a wedding or a conference?
Yeah.
They need people to direct the crowd,
Ah, okay, very good.
and I was asked to volunteer.
Good. And you've been through it enough to guide others. That's excellent.
You would-
So,
you would think.
who else would like Libby? Oh, and first off, I hope everyone tried her cookies. There are two left. There are two left. I ought to auction these off.
Yeah, really.
Do we have any takers? Do we have any takers? Come on, come on. All right, there you go. Who's gonna take the last cookie?
All right, I'll take it.
All right.
He's already got two cookies.
How many you got there, Stan?
The sacrifices you make,
Listen,
man.
you know, for the club, hey, listen, and for the ride home, man.
Hold up, it's just happens for your remark.
So, I'm gonna give $10. The first is because this is my first happy dollars, and then the other reason is my fence is finally being built after 6 months.
Wow.
It should be done by tomorrow.
Your fence.
Fence for my yard.
Oh, for your cat. Oh,
It's
okay.
more than that. Don't make me into a real crazy cat lady.
Okay.
That's all right. That's all right. It's all right.
Alan, thank you.
All right. $5.
Hey, Bill,
My first.
can you,
Good, we're glad to have you back.
Right.
Bill Payne, can you hear me?
Yeah, you want to make a happy dollar?
Can you hear me, Bill?
Yeah, Reggie, we can hear you. How much?
$10.
I heard.
My wife and I celebrated our 41st anniversary just a couple of days ago. So she has tolerated me for over 4 decades.
That's worth the $10.
$10.
$10. Well, thank you, Reggie. All right, and congratulations on your anniversary. Who else? Oh, Graham.
I'm my first happy dollars. I'm just recovering from my second COVID.
Oh,
The first one was a piece of cake. The second time around was not bad.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that by maybe $10, maybe I won't get it.
I hope. You just reminded me we're gonna get a little COVID update from Paul. Randy.
I went to a public high school in Baltimore with a really funny name, Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. And
That's a screamer.
Well, a Poly boy finally made good. Poly graduated in 1960, the year before I did. One of 3 physicists to just be awarded the Nobel Prize.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Wow.
I helped him with his homework. What do you do, sharpen a pencil?
Your classmates are getting the Nobel Prize. What have you done? Monty?
How happy were
That's
you?
great. That's great.
How happy?
I need the amount for Randy.
Oh, the amount, yeah, 10 for Randy. Anyone else? John Burtis.
I got one.
4 telegrams from Paul saying that the Happy Dollar Fund was nearly complete, not being absent, so really bad about it, so. I'm gonna save him some because while I was gone, there was a football game between
West Virginia,
Yeah.
Virginia Tech. I forgot who won, but Murphy is.
Murphy's thinking
He's hiding.
$30. We took a 30-day trip to Austria, Germany, France, and Italy, and had a grand time. We also got COVID while we were there.
Oh, man.
But didn't really deplete our trip at all. We had a grand time, but for lack of funds and work, we would still be there.
You just continue spreading
No offense to
COVID
anybody.
all over the place. or what?
We're here, we brought a special version from Germany back to you guys. We had it back almost 3 weeks ago now. Great trip. And,
Bill, I've got one.
countries.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
I'll
we
let
can
Jim
take it
know.
back to me, though.
No problem. Welcome back.
Jim Murphy has a,
Oh, Bill Murphy.
Well, hi. Well,
Oh, there he is.
I can't see John, but I know he's laughing at me. So I'm going to give $5 happy, sort of a down payment on the 10 that I promised him if West Virginia, unlikely in the event they beat Virginia Tech, but apparently they did. So I'll let him know that it's the first time he sees me when we get back to Cape Charles, I'll be wearing the jersey for him. So
That would be great.
Good sport.
All right. I'm gonna give $5. You'll have to add this up. $5 for Chuck, Al Paschal, and Jim Stannard, who joined Saturday to do the ad fair
great.
parking. And I'm also going to give $5 in Dolores's name because she's doing it bad. She and Paul actually are doing a great job in helping me stay within the guardrails. So thank you to both of you. So put me down for $25, and that's including $5 for Paul. So that brings us to announcements, and thank you, Graham and Alan, for the reminder. Can we tap you for a quick COVID
Okay, you
update?
want to talk about the forum coming up too?
Yes.
Okay, you want to do the COVID first?
Yeah, if that's okay.
All right. Well, as most of you know, I've sort of been giving COVID updates to the club and personal friends for almost 3 years now. And I quit sending out the weekly little newsletter because things sort of calmed down and stabilized. And I still look at the numbers every week. And the Eastern Shore and Virginia Beach have been in the so-called green category now for the past 6 weeks or so, with little change, very few hospitalizations. But if you look at what's happening nationally, it's still a significant problem. We are still losing about 400 people in the United States a day on dying of COVID. And most of these, well over 90% of these are, about 90% are people over 65 years old, which applies to most people in this club. Not Miss Pfeiffer, but most of us. And the really terrible thing about these deaths is that 90% of those are preventable. And the reason they're preventable is that we've got this drug called Paxlovid. I know Mark is very familiar with it and undoubtedly prescribes it. And many of you in this room have had COVID and have taken it. And it may be the most effective antiviral drug that we've ever created. If you get COVID, get a prescription for Paxlovid, because it will reduce your risk of dying from COVID by about 90%. And so if these 400 elderly people that are dying every day, had gotten a prescription for Paxlovid, that number would probably drop to less than 50. So it's incredibly important. And I didn't realize this until just the last week or two, which is one reason I wanted to give this report, is that how effective that drug is. much more effective than the drug that we give for flu. It's just, you know, it just should be used every time somebody gets COVID.
Paul, did you say how many people of those are not vaccinated?
Certainly if you get vaccinated as well, and I was going to reach that point next, then you reduce your risk of dying significantly too, not by 90%, but maybe by 80%. There's a new vaccination, this bivalent vaccination, and you know, I got it the other day along with my flu shot, and in everybody, if you haven't had a vaccination within say 3 months, and you're now, so you should go get the bivalent vaccination, because it will significantly reduce your risk of getting this Omicron variant of COVID, and therefore reduce your risk of hospitalization and dying.
After I found that I was positive for COVID, I did go down to the local pharmacy.
Right.
And one of the nice things about they prescribe Paxlovid, it's free of charge.
Oh. Yeah.
No charge. So
yeah,
I would highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
I'll second that one.
You said it prevents you from getting COVID.
I say the shot, the immunization does. The bivalent vaccination reduces your risk of getting COVID significantly. And if you had a shot, 4 months ago, you should go ahead and get the new bivalent one, which will specifically protect you better against the Omicron variant. So everybody in this room should be getting the bivalent vaccination, and unfortunately, it's being underused. A very small percentage of our population has gotten
Even
that
if you just
vaccination.
had COVID, you still go get it.
Yeah, I think you have to wait. What how long do you have to wait, Mark?
3 months.
3 months?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Well, still, I mean, oh, by the way, and when you get the bivalent COVID vaccination, get the flu shot in the other arm, because it's going to be a bad season for flu. Everybody's predicting. People have been not getting the flu much the last few years because everybody's been isolating and using face masks, or a lot of people have. And we know what's coming, because in the Southern Hemisphere, it's a bad flu season this winter, which means it's likely to be a bad flu season this winter. And again, if you're elderly, get that double dose flu vaccine. That's for elderly people.
Can you get them both at the same time?
Absolutely, one in each arm.
We just said 3 months after you've had COVID, you can get the bivalent vaccine.
I think so. I think that's right. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have Wayne Bell, who's going to tell us a little bit about what's happening at Children's Arbor.
Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Wayne Bell. Been a long time member here at the Cape Charles Rotary Club.
You're off to a really good start.
Yes.
Those are good.
Don't put it back. Don't put it back.
No wallet back. With my credit cards. Past president here at the Cape Charles Club, also area governor, so very involved. Sold my company, and then unfortunately, my work is now in Norfolk, and so therefore I'm not able to make these meetings. But I do miss fellowshipping with everybody, and whenever I can, I try to be involved, like craft cakes and that type of thing. So I am coming back in November to talk about Children's Harbor, so I really don't want to steal my thunder for when I come back in November. So what I will do is I'll give happy dollars, since I haven't been here for quite some time. Bill I said in my head that I would give higher than whoever gave out a number. Bill said 20, and I was like, 20's a little high. Then John comes up and does 30. So now I'm going to
revise my number.
So now I'm not gonna be able to eat for a week.
No.
I'm not gonna be able to eat for a week, but it's good. So I'm gonna give
By the way,
31.
No,
I'm gonna give 31 happy dollars for being here.
We don't know how to handle cash.
Alright,
I still got the hippie cash though. I haven't missed it in months.
ladies and gentlemen, today's biography is gonna be, autobiography is gonna be delivered by Chip Miller.
Hey,
Come
Chip.
on up. Thank you.
$9 back. Thank you, sir.
Well, I think we had the current mayor was supposed to be. Anyhow, I'm happy. I should have, give me $5 happy for being asked to do this for a second time. And also everybody else that had a few things to say that we can, you want to be done at 1, right?
Yeah. Push your clock ahead. You only got 12 minutes.
I am not a stand-up comic like Kenny Roberts. My earliest memory of a Rotary Club, I think I was about maybe 8 years old when my grandfather, who was a Rotarian all his life, invited me to come to him with a meeting. And that was a big deal for an 8-year-old kid. This was in a little town of Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. I don't know if anybody here has ever been there before, but it's got a little similarity to Cape Charles in that it sits on the edge of it's between Green Bay and Lake Michigan. So there's there's long maritime history of war boats coming through town, and they also, during World War II, they were turning out about a ship a day in the shipyards there. It's a very important maritime part of the Midwest. So then, fast forward many years, my dad joined Rotary Club, and I went to a couple meetings with him. And fast forward a number of more years, this is my 80th year, so I figured it was about time to join. What am I waiting for? This little town my dad grew up in, it is about the same distance across the water to the other side. This is Wisconsin, that thumb that sticks out here. So from where my dad grew up over to Marinette, Michigan, it's about the same distance as it is from here to the other side of the bridge. And the sun always sets in the west, like it does here, which is pretty remarkable. And the countryside is highly agricultural, a lot of dairy farms and whatever. But this is kind of my golden year time to remember all the wonderful things that I grew up with, being around the water. We couldn't wait to get there in the summertime. We lived in Pittsburgh when I was young, and we take the trek across the country to take the ferry across the lake. That ferry is still running. There's one of them still running. It's coal-fired. It was part of the railroad system. So there's so many connections that I feel I have here with my youth. Okay, well, anyhow, I was born in 42. And my dad, I don't think my mother ever forgave him for it, but he wanted to get in the Navy and see the world. So my dad left my mom and a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old at home. She went to Minneapolis and joined some family there while he went to war in the South Pacific. Well, he wanted, in the worst way, to get aboard a ship, and he never did. The whole time he was in the Navy, they appointed him to be the director of Navy Relief in Auckland, New Zealand. And from there, they sent him to American Samoa, where he was the director of public schools. Interesting job. And then towards the end of the war, when things were getting safe in the Pacific, they permitted some of the officers in Samoa to bring their families over. So for about 6 months, my mom, my brother, older brother, went over to Samoa, and that's my very first childhood memory. I was about 3 years old, and my mother took me to a preschool up at the governor's mansion on top of the hill in Pango Pango, where they had the mothers that had little kids had a preschool thing. So that's a little early history for me. And then we came back. My dad got his first job in Pittsburgh, and I lived there through 6th grade when he got a job in Chicago, and we moved to Chicago. And we were there until the day after I graduated from high school. Had my first girlfriend. It was going to be the summer of all time. And we packed up and moved to New York. So my dad was executive director of some social service agencies. And so I spent the summer in upstate New York at a Y camp on the waterfront. And then we started going back and forth between the East and the Midwest, because I went to St. Olaf College. Anybody here ever heard of St. Olaf College? It's in Northfield, Minnesota. There's 2 schools there. Most people have heard of Carleton probably from, but very fine liberal arts college. My dad had gone there, and then my brother went there, and I applied. So the best memory I had from those days was I was fortunate enough to get in the choir, which toured extensively as a sophomore. And my brother was in the choir before me. So we had 1 year, it was overlapping. We sang together in this choir, and it was on their 50th anniversary tour. So it was a wonderful experience there. And during the remaining years, we had a chance to tour every one of the continental U.S. states except Maine. So it was a wonderful experience. And so I ended up majoring in music and then got into real estate.
So you sing to people.
Well, I was on tour before. This was the year I graduated from college. I was got a job. No, let me see if I got this right. Okay, I was in Albany, New York. I was substitute teaching on a long-term basis for somebody that was in the hospital getting an operation. And that was just about over. I think it was in early October. And some friends from college that I had also sung with in the choir, they were in a group called the Norma Luboff Choir. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it. You're dating yourself. If you're But they called and said that they were going to be in Albany doing a concert. Would I like to come? And I said, sure. And by the way, why don't you come over to our house and have dinner? And they said there was a tenor in the group that was wanting to go back to Los Angeles. And so they were going to have an opening. And what was I doing? And I said, well, I'm basically 1A, so I'm just kind of hanging around waiting to get drafted. And they said, well, why don't you audition and see what happens there? So I did the next day after the concert. And I was accepted into the group and packed my bag and went on tour, and which was a great experience. And then there was a guy in the group who had formerly been in the United States Army Chorus. I know some months back you heard from Albie Powell, it's here now. And he said you might want to check with in Washington or at Fort Myer in Arlington, where he had been in the chorus before he joined the Norma Luboff Choir. And so I called ahead. They had an opening for a second tenor. I stopped. I told the director, Norma Luboff, that come the break at Christmas time that I was gonna have to get home because the draft board was looking for me. My parents were. And it was also the most active draft board in the country at the time. So I think they were sending about 25 or 30 people a day out of that draft board. So on the way home, then I stopped in Washington, audition, was accepted. And so I caught a bus from Albany to, or from Washington to Albany, got home about 2 o'clock in the morning. And at 7:30 that next day, I had a draft physical. And that afternoon, I was at Fort Dix. So it was a very interesting and wonderful experience in Washington. The chorus back in those days didn't do a lot of traveling. There was a lot of events that they had in Washington for tourists in the evening at the Jefferson Memorial and also at the Watergate. The Watergate, which are the stairs going down to the river right behind the Lincoln Memorial, if you have ever seen that. And that was the original gate to from the water to the city. So we would perform on a barge there for the tourists in the summertime. There's a lot of entertaining at the quarters one for the Army Chief of Staff would entertain a lot of military people from all over the world. So that was a good time. And what did I do after that? Well, I was in Washington when I got out. And, real estate business seemed like it was pretty hot in those days. So I got some training and sold houses for a few years. And then I got into management of residential offices, worked for 3 different companies, all 3 of which are no longer in business. But you've heard of Coldwell Banker. They bought out the original company I started with. And then there was Shannon Deluxe, and then there was Weichert, which bought the last company I was with, Mount Vernon Realty. And those were very, very good and very prosperous years in the real estate business. But after just about 20 years, I got remarried, and my wife wanted to get back into her nursing career. We had 2 little kids at home at the time. And I said, well, I think I've had enough managing real estate offices. And so I stayed home with the kids for about 4 years. I was Mr. Mom. I think she was a little envious. And she got her master's degree at George Mason and became one of, I think maybe 100 specialty nurses in the field of pediatric nephrology, and had a wonderful career there. So, and after that, I got a job with a music company in Falls Church, Virginia, where we formerly were, doing their choral music, selling it online all over the country. And did that because it was school hours. So I could still, when the kids got a little older, I could still be there because she had a lot of call time. And we want to have some parent around all the time. And at the end of my working life, when I was, see, what was I doing? Oh, I was the administrator for the music department at a large church in Falls Church, the Falls Church, and spent about 7 years doing that. So, and then it was time to, one day I called up our financial advisor and said, you know, what's it look like? He said, you can quit anytime you want. Said, all right. So, how we ended up in Cape Charles, my wife's only first cousin in the U.S. is Linda Buskey. Some of you probably know. And we had come down here numerous times for little family vacations and decided it was a pretty nice place to be. So we thought we'd come down for a year, and we rented a place in New Quarter and in Bay Creek, and thought we'd see if we could survive the winter down here. And 5 weeks after we arrived, we bought a house. That a year later, it was mostly done in Bayside Village, and where we are today, and we love it. Glad to be here. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm
That's perfect.
Thank you, and I only let the interesting ones run over.
Keep that in
So,
mind.
ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise for the Rotary pledge? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Ladies and gentlemen, go in service. Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, golly, Stan.
Yes,
And rule number 5?
we will have fun.
Yes, you're here. I remember someday.